Hey everyone, Joe here. Welcome back to IdeaCaster. It's Sunday, January 11th, 2026, which means it's time for a founder spotlight. So today I'm going to tell you about a story of Maya Chen. She's a 34-year-old former product manager who's now running a B2B SaaS company doing $45,000 in monthly recurring revenue. But here's the thing. 2 years ago, Maya was sitting in her Honda Civic in a Target parking lot, crying, seriously considering shutting down her startup before it even began. She'd spent 9 months building what she thought was the perfect product. And on launch day, 0 customers, not one. This is a story of how she went from a parking lot moment to building a sustainable, profitable business. And spoiler alert, what she's running today looks nothing like what she had originally built. So let's get into it. So who is Maya Chen? Before we get to the startup story, we need to understand where she was coming from. In January 2024, Maya was living in Austin, Texas, working as a senior product manager at a company called ConnectFlow. It's a mid-sized B2B software company with about 200 employees. She'd been there for about 4 years. Good salary, around $130,000 a year, solid benefits, nice team. By most measures, she had it made. But Maya was restless. She was not content with what was happening. She'd been watching the startup world from the sidelines for years, seeing former colleagues launch companies, raise funding, build things from scratch. And she kept thinking to herself, you know what? I could do that, and I should do that. So now Maya wasn't naive. She'd worked in product manager long enough to see plenty of startups fail. She knew the statistics. But she also knew that she'd regret it if she never tried. As she told me in an interview last month, Maya wasn't naive. She'd worked in product management long enough to see plenty of startups fail. She knew the statistics, but she also knew that she'd regret it if she never even tried. As she told me in an interview last month, I was terrified of being 60 years old and wondering, what if? That fear was stronger than the fear of failing. So, in January 2024, she made a decision. She wasn't going to quit her job, at least not yet. But she was going to start building something on nights and weekends. She gave herself 1 year. If she could get to $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue by January 2025, then she'd quit and go all in. If not, she'd consider it as an expensive education and move on. Her partner, David, was supportive. They had a mortgage, a 2-year-old daughter named Emma. They agreed that she could use up to $20,000 of their savings for this venture, but not a penny more. Okay, so where did this idea come from? At ConnectFlow, where she was working, Maya's team managed the product roadmap for their customer support tools, and she kept hearing the same complaint over and over from their customers. Customer support teams were drowning. Their ticket volumes were increasing every year, but headcount wasn't keeping pace. Support reps were totally burning out. Response times were getting longer, customers were getting angrier, and Maya thought to herself, you know what? This is 2024. AI is everywhere. ChatGPT had been out for over a year. Why isn't there a really good AI chatbot that can handle tier 1 customer support inquiries? Why isn't there a really good AI chatbot that can handle tier 1 customer support inquiries? Now, of course, there were a lot of AI chatbots, a ton of them. But Maya had sat in on enough customer calls to know that most of them really sucked. They gave robotic responses, they couldn't handle anything outside of their training data, and they frustrated customers more than they helped them. So Maya's vision was different. She wanted to build an AI chatbot that felt human, that could understand context, remember previous conversations, escalate appropriately, and actually solve problems. She called it SupportFlow. In February 2024, she started working on it. Every evening after Emma went to bed, 9 p.m. to midnight. Every Saturday morning at a coffee shop while David handled toddler duties. Some Sundays. She was exhausted, but she was energized. She was building something. Now, here's where Maya did something right from the beginning. Before she wrote a single line of code, she talked to people. And not just a few people. She set a goal. Talked to 100 customer support leaders before building anything. She reached out to her network. She joined Slack communities. She cold emailed people on LinkedIn. She'd say, hey, I'm researching challenges in customer support. Can I buy you coffee and pick your brain for 20 minutes? No sales pitch, no product demo, just questions. By May 2024, she'd hit her goal. 100 conversations, pages and pages of notes, and a clear picture of the problem she was trying to solve. Maya started building in June 2024. She hired a contractor, a developer named Tyler she found on Upwork, for $25 an hour. Together, they built the first version of SupportFlow over 3 months. They used OpenAI's API, built a training system where companies could feed in their documentation and pass support tickets, and created a widget that could embed on any website. By September 2024, they had something that worked. It wasn't perfect, but it was functional. Maya had spent $14,000 left. It was time to launch. She'd stayed in touch with many of the 100 people she interviewed. She sent out emails to 50 of them, the ones who seemed most interested at least. She said, hey, remember when we talked about customer support challenges? I built something. Want to see it? She got 12 replies, 8 demos scheduled. She was pumped. The demos went pretty well. People were polite. They said things like, well, this is interesting. Let me think about it. Can you follow up in a few weeks? Maya followed up and followed up again and again. October came and went. 0 customers. November came and went. Still 0 customers. She posted on Product Hunt, got a few upvotes, a few tire kickers who signed up for a free trial and never came back, but 0 paying customers. By early December, Maya was running out of money and running out of steam. She spent $19,500. She was working 60 plus hours between her day job and the startup. She'd barely seen her daughter awake in 2 months, and she had nothing to show for it. On December 14th, 2024, a Saturday morning, she drove to Target to buy diapers. She sat in the parking lot afterward and just started crying. She told me, quote, I felt like such a failure. I talked to 100 people. I built what they said they wanted, and nobody wanted to pay for it. I was ready to shut it all down. That night, she'd given until the end of December to tie up the loose ends, but that was it. SupportFlow was over. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. Because the pivot that saved Maya's company came from a throwaway comment from someone who didn't want to buy her product. On December 18th, Maya got an email from someone named Rachel. She's a director of customer support at a fintech company she had demoed to back in October. Rachel wrote, I know we passed on SupportFlow, but I wanted to tell you why, in case it helps. The AI stuff is cool, but honestly, our biggest problem isn't automating Tier 1 tickets. It's routing complex tickets to the right senior rep. We have 20 support reps. 5 are experienced, 15 of them are newer. The new reps escalate everything, and the senior reps are drowning while the new reps sit idle. If you ever build something like that, please let me know. Maya read that email 3 times. She then went back to her notes from all 100 interviews. And there it was. Not in every conversation, but in probably 30 of them. It said our escalation processes, we can't figure out how to route tickets effectively, or our senior people are overworked and our junior people are underutilized. She'd been so focused on the AI chatbot that she'd glossed right over this other problem. Maya called Rachel the next day. Hey, Rachel, can you tell me more about this routing problem? They talked for an hour. Then Maya called 5 other people from her original interviews who she remembered mentioning something similar. 4 of them took her call. All 4 said, yes, this was a huge problem. On December 23rd, instead of winding down her startup, Maya made a decision. She was going to pivot. She looked at what she had already built. The AI engine could analyze text and understand context. What if instead of responding to customers, it analyzed incoming tickets and routed them to the right rep based on complexity, topic, and availability? She called Tyler, her developer, on December 26th. Hey, Tyler, I know it's the holidays, but hear me out here. Tyler said, that's actually way simpler to build than what we were already doing. They spent the last week of December reorienting everything. Instead of customer-facing chatbot, it was now an internal routing system that plugged into existing support platforms like Zendesk and Intercom. On January 6th, 2025, Maya emailed Rachel. She said, "I built this thing you mentioned. Want to see it?" They demoed on January 8th. Rachel loved it. She said, "Hey, how much is this? How much can I pay for this?" Maya absolutely panicked. She said, $200 a month. Rachel didn't blink. "Great, send me the contract." Maya told me later, the moment she agreed that fast, I knew I'd priced it way too low. But I was so desperate for that first customer that I didn't care. I just wanted someone to pay me anything. On January 15th, 2025, Rachel's company became customer number one, $200 a month. Maya had missed her original goal. She said $10,000 MRR by January, and she had 200 instead. But she had something more important. She had a paying customer. Someone who believed in what she had built enough to hand over a credit card. It was the type of validation that she desperately needed. Okay, so one customer, $200 a month. Not exactly the quit your job type of money, but Maya was super energized. She went back to her list of 100 contacts and reached out to everyone who'd mentioned routing or escalation problems. She got demos scheduled with 8 companies in late January and early February. But before those demos, she did something very smart. She spent 2 weeks watching how Rachel's team used the product. She jumped on calls with her support reps. She asked, "Hey, what's working? What's not? What would make this 10 times better?" And she built those things fast. One rep said, "I wish I could see why the system routed a ticket to me instead of someone else." Maya built a transparency feature in 2 days. Another said, "Sometimes the AI gets it wrong and I need to manually reassign." Maya added an override button. By the time she was doing demos in February, the product was so much better, and she had a case study. She could show real data from Rachel's team. Escalation time down 42%, senior rep utilization down 30%, junior rep utilization up 25%. Out of those 8 February demos, she closed 3 customers. But she learned from her pricing mistake. She asked one of her early interviewees, a guy named Marcus, who ran a consultancy, what he thought she should charge. He said, "Rachel, based on the ROI you're showing, at least $500 a month for small teams, probably $1,000 plus for bigger ones." So she priced the new customers at $600 per month for teams under 15 people and $1,000 for larger teams. All 3 said yes. By the end of February 2025, she had 4 customers and $2,600 in MRR. March was even better. 5 more customers. One of them, a customer support BPO with 50 reps, paid $2,500 a month. End of March, 9 customers, $8,900 MRR. She was so close to her original $10,000 goal. So close to the number that would let her quit her job and go all in. In April, she closed 2 more customers. On April 16th, 2025, she crossed $10,000 in MRR. On April 13th, she gave her notice at ConnectFlow. Her last day would be May 13th. She told me, quote, "I was absolutely terrified. I had a steady paycheck for 12 years, but I was also more excited than I had ever been about work in my entire life." Going full-time changed everything. Suddenly, Maya had 40 hours a week to work on the business, take sales calls during business hours. She could do proper customer onboarding. She could actually build the roadmap she'd been dreaming about. June through August 2025 were a blur. She was doing everything: sales, customer success, product management, some support tickets. Tyler was still handling development on contract. By September 1st, she had 28 customers and $24,000 in MRR. She was paying herself a modest salary of $5,000 a month. It was less than half of what she had made at ConnectFlow, but it was enough to cover her share of mortgage and expenses. And then she hit a wall. She was maxed out. She was doing 10 sales demos a week, onboarding 3 to 4 new customers a month, handling support tickets, managing the product roadmap. She was working 70 hours a week again, just like when she had a day job. And customers were starting to feel it. Response times were getting slower. Feature requests were piling up. One customer, a company that was paying $2,000 a month, churned in September. They said, the product is great, but we're not getting enough support. That hurt, but it was a wake-up call that Maya desperately needed. She did the math. After paying Tyler and covering software costs and her own salary, she had about $8,000 a month left over. She'd been saving it, thinking she'd need a runway buffer. But what she really needed was help. In October 2025, she made her first hire, a customer success manager named Jordan. Part-time, 25 hours a week, $25 an hour. Jordan's job was to handle onboarding and customer support. The impact was immediate. Maya suddenly had 15 extra hours a week to focus on sales and product. Customer satisfaction scores went way up. Churn went down. In November, she brought on board another contractor, a part-time salesperson named Priya, who specialized in outbound sales for B2B SaaS. Priya worked on commission, 10% of first-year contract value. By December, that restructured team was humming. Maya focused on product and high-touch sales. Priya did outbound prospecting and mid-market deals. Jordan handled everything customer-facing. December 2025, they closed 12 new customers, their best month ever. By January 1st, 2026, 2 years after Maya first started building, the company had 53 customers and $42,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And as of this week, when I talked to Maya, they crossed $45,000 in MRR. She's paying herself $75,000 a year, still less than her old job, but she's building equity in something she owns. More importantly, she's built something that works, a real business, solving a real problem for real customers. All right, let's talk about lessons learned, because Maya's story isn't just feel-good narrative. There's actually a lot we can learn from what she did right and what she did wrong. First, the big one. She talked to 100 people before building anything. Now, she still got the product wrong at first, right? She built an AI chatbot when what the market actually wanted was routing software. But those conversations still mattered, because when she needed to pivot, she had 100 people she could go back to. She had notes, she had relationships, she had data. If she just built the chatbot in a vacuum and launched it, she probably would have given up in the Target parking lot, and that would have been the end of the story. The 100 conversations gave her the material to pivot. Second lesson, pricing. Maya underpriced at first because she was desperate for validation. And you know what? For that first customer, it was probably the right move. She needed the win. She needed to prove that someone would pay her. But she learned fast. She asked for help. She looked at the ROI her product was delivering and then priced accordingly. By customer number 2, she tripled her price. And people still bought. A lot of founders, especially first-time founders, are terrified of pricing too high. But if you're solving a real problem and you can show concrete ROI, you can probably charge more than you think. Third, the power of one really engaged customer. Rachel, that first customer, was gold because she was willing to give feedback. She let Maya watch her team work. She helped Maya make the product better. And that made every sales conversation afterward easier. Maya had proof. She had data. She had a reference customer. Fourth lesson, knowing when to hire. Maya waited too long. She burned herself out and lost a customer because she was trying to do everything herself. But when she finally did hire, she was smart about it. She didn't go hire a VP of engineering for $150,000 a year. She brought on part-time contractors, people who could take specific tasks off her plate. And she started with customer success, which was the thing most directly impacting retention. That Jordan hire, the customer success person, probably saved the company, because in a subscription business, churn kills you. You can't grow if you're losing customers as fast as you're gaining them. And last lesson, the pivot. Maya's willingness to completely change her direction saved her business. She'd spent 9 months building one thing, and when it didn't work, she had the humility to admit it and try something else. A lot of founders get emotionally attached to their first idea. They think, I spent all this time and money, I have to make it work. Maya was able to look at the market, look at what people actually needed, and adapted. The pivot wasn't random. It came from listening to a customer. It came from going back to her research. She didn't just throw darts at a board. She followed the signal. So where's Maya today and where's she going? As of right now, January 2026, she's got a team of 5 people. All contractors are part-time. She's doing $45,000 in monthly recurring revenue with about 55 customers. Her churn is low, around 4% monthly. Her margins are good because it's a software business, and she's kept the team lean. Her goal for 2026 is to hit $100,000 in MRR by the end of the year. She thinks it's doable. She built a repeatable sales process. She's got case studies. She's got good retention. And she's been approached by a few investors who want to fund her. So far, she said no. She told me, quote, I'm profitable, I'm growing. Why would I give up equity right now? Maybe at some point I'll want to grow faster or hire a big team or do an acquisition. But right now, I'm building the business I want to build at the pace I want to build it. I love that. Not every startup has to be venture-backed. Not every founder has to chase the unicorn status. Maya is building what some people call an awesome lifestyle business. Though I kind of hate that term because it sounds dismissive. What Maya is building is a sustainable, profitable company that solves a real problem and supports her life. That's not a lifestyle business. That's just a business, a good business. She's in the office 3 days a week, remote 2 days a week. She picks up her daughter from preschool most days. She's not working 70-hour weeks anymore. She's closer to 45 or 50. She's building wealth through equity in something she owns. And she's happy. She expected entrepreneurship to be stressful and terrifying all the time. And it was at first. But now, she loves what she does. She loves her customers. She loves her team. She loves the product. When I asked her, someone who's thinking about starting a company but hasn't pulled the trigger yet, she said this, and I think it's the perfect place to end. She said, start by talking to people. Don't build anything yet. Just talk. Find a problem that makes people's eyes light up when you mention it. A problem where they say, oh my God, yes, that's such a pain. Then build the smallest possible thing that addresses that problem. Not the perfect thing, not the complete thing, just the smallest useful thing. And get it in front of them. Get it in front of them fast. If it doesn't work, pivot. If it does work, double down, lean into it. But don't sit on it for years. And don't build in a vacuum. The market will tell you what it wants if you listen. All right, that's Maya's story. From product manager to founder, from target parking lot breakdown to $45,000 in monthly recurring revenue, from the wrong product to the right one. I hope her journey resonated with some of you. Maybe you're in the phase where you're thinking about starting something but haven't pulled the trigger yet. Maybe you're in the middle of building it and it's not working yet. Maybe you're further along and trying to figure out how to scale. Wherever you are, remember this. The path is never linear. Maya's first idea failed. She almost quit, but she listened. She pivoted, and she built something real. All right, that's it for today's Founder Spotlight. Tomorrow, we're back with IdeaCaster Daily, where I'll be breaking down 3 fresh ideas for Monday, January 12th. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a founder friend who might need to hear Maya's story. And if you want to go deeper, I'll put some resources in the show notes about customer research, pricing strategy, and knowing when to pivot. I'm Joe. Keep building, keep learning. And remember, every successful company started just as an idea and someone brave enough to try it. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.